Hello everybody and welcome to Jeff the Pharmacist. It is an honor to have you here. I want to thank you for watching my channel and for tuning in. So today I wanted to talk about something that's a little different from what I talk about usually. This is something that I saw. I was basically looking at continuing education lectures, and I saw one that kind of interested me. It was from one of my old professors, and it was about new drugs, and one of the new drug therapies out there called, she called it crazy. I don't think I'm still a millennial, so I'm a little more, everything that may seem crazy to other people doesn't really seem crazy to me. One of them is a breakthrough therapy designation by the FDA, meaning kind of an okay to go ahead and study it for the drug MDMA, which is a street drug, often called Molly or Ecstasy. Obviously the street preparation could have anything in it, but this is MDMA, and it's called methylene dioxymethamphetamine. So it's kind of in the amphetamine chemical class, but it's sort of in this own weird kind of class of medication or class of drug. It's often called an empathogen because it people kind of feel oneness or I don't know, a sense of love or warmth. I have no experience with the drug at all, so I can't really speak from experience, but in the clinical trial, it was given to people who have severe PTSD that has been resistant to treatment by other medication. PTSD, and I'm just gonna read exactly what it is. It's a mental health problem that some people develop after experiencing or witnessing a life-threatening event like combat or a natural disaster, a car accident, sexual assault. It's normal to have upsetting memories, feel on edge, or have trouble sleeping after this type of event. And a lot of the people with PTSD are obviously warriors that have been fighting in Iraq or Afghanistan or in other theaters, and they come back and they have a lot of difficulty with some of the life-threatening things that they've experienced. Again, I can't really speak to experience because I haven't been in those kind of situations, but it's very promising because of the results that the MAPS study has had. So MAPS is the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. So they conducted a phase 2 clinical study, and I want to show you kind of what the results were. So patients that had PTSD that had been resistant to other therapies, like Zoloft has an indication for PTSD. There's different other types of therapies, and they had been resistant to those therapies, and so they did MDMA 2 to 3 times over 3 to 5 weeks in a guided therapy session, and it was randomized. So half the people were put into this MDMA guided therapy, the other half just did the therapy. I guess you wouldn't really say it was blind because you'd kind of know if you which category you were in within, like, I don't know, 10 minutes or something of take it. Like if you took a sugar pill versus MDMA, I think you would know after pretty quickly. So it was an 8-hour psychotherapy session, and so before treatment, 100% of the patients had PTSD. Basically, they were qualifying for a PTSD diagnosis. The control, it was 77%, and after the MDMA assisted therapy, it was 33%. So those are really great numbers, and that's really really fascinating. I think it deserves definitely a phase 3 trial. One of the issues with, or why MDMA hasn't really been studied that much, is because it's off patent, so there's not really any investor that could make money from it. And the severity of the PTSD symptoms 12 months after the therapy sessions, it's called a CAPS score, which is basically kind of a guided interview with questions and things. And I mean, they ask you questions about kind of scoring your PTSD. So the average score before treatment was 85, and 12 months after, it was the average score was 35. So that's really promising data, and it's a very PTSD is something that we talk a lot about because of so many people who've been in war, or who have been in war and are coming back into society. There's a gentleman who talks about his experience. I just wanted to show you. He says, and this is retired Sergeant Jonathan Lubecki, and he's a U.S. Army veteran, and he had MDMA-assisted psychotherapy for PTSD, and this is on their brochure, the MAPS brochure. It's the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, and they conduct studies on some of these taboo drugs that have been scheduled. And he says, this is his words, "I'm a combat veteran who served for 12 years in both the Marines and the U.S. Army. I was deployed to Iraq in 2005, and I came home in late 2006 with a traumatic brain injury, or TBI, and severe post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. In the early hours of Christmas morning after returning home in 2006, I sought help at both the church and an army hospital, but was turned away by both. I drank a bottle of vodka, loaded a Beretta M9, put it to my temple, and pulled the trigger. The gun misfired." So he says, every day more than 20 veterans have had similar experience, and they're not as lucky as I was. Instead, they are buried under the flag of the country they loved and died defending. I was fortunate enough to participate in one of MAP's recently completed phase 2 studies. MDMA-assisted psychotherapy must be added to the arsenal of treatments available to veterans, first responders, and the many others with PTSD. I do not use the term cure lightly, as real cures are rare in modern medicine, but due to this treatment, I went from being severely suicidal to working as the National Veterans Director for Rand Paul's presidential campaign. The most commonly used Veterans Affairs approved treatments are cognitive processing therapy and prolonged exposure therapy. While these treatments do improve symptoms for about 70% of the veterans who receive them, 2/3 will still meet the clinical definition of PTSD, and of course 30% don't improve at all. Anxiety disorders have an annual domestic cost of $42.3 billion, and PTSD is the most costly. PTSD is the leading cause of veteran homelessness, substance abuse, and unemployment, and 24.4 million Americans will suffer from PTSD during their lifetime. Over 500,000 veterans who served in Iraq or Afghanistan suffer from PTSD. By enabling veterans to get off disability and return to work, this treatment could reduce the need for VA services, improve wait times, and reduce reliance on Social Security. Such improvements in a single veteran's health could produce over $1 billion in taxpayer savings over 20 years. I'm fortunate to have been one of the few who have received this life-changing treatment. While I'm always appreciative to the many people who have thanked me for my service, I would rather they donate to MAPS and show their gratitude by helping save the lives of my brothers and sisters. Your donation to MAPS, large or small. Okay. Alright, and then he's appealing for help with funding the research. So I found this very fascinating because its efficacy. And I think, you know, these drugs should just be judged on efficacy and not on, you know, media or, I mean, I think once drugs get once they get kind of an image or they're associated with something, it's very difficult. For instance, heroin is obviously a terrible drug, but it is basically the same drug as morphine, very similar to morphine, and one Schedule 1 and one Schedule 2. But if you looked at heroin, it obviously has therapeutic use for pain, just like morphine does. They're almost the same drug, and heroin is actually used in the UK for pain treatment. I don't know if it's end of life or whatever, but I think once these drugs kind of get a reputation, it becomes very hard for people to study them, and then you could be denying people life-saving research. So I hope you guys found this interesting. I definitely found the efficacy of the study interesting, how you know, there's kind of kind of an interesting dynamic to it. It's PTSD, which is obviously a huge issue in society for people that have you know, gone to war for us. So it's obviously something that's very important. I think if it was anything else, I don't know if the FDA would have granted it a breakthrough therapy designation. I don't know if I mean, this is an open question, are they capable of looking at research on sort of taboo drugs openly and honestly? I don't know. So I hope you guys found this interesting. I hope you found this useful or entertaining. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Please subscribe. It would be great to have you as a subscriber. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks a lot.